The consciousness and the cosmos, a path to one's own inner cosmos.
In assistance of the more profound understanding of the current planetary transition.
A stimuli that accompanies the pilgrim in his return to his cosmic home.
The Consciousness and the Cosmos, radio program of Uksim Planetary Service Center.
Hello dear listeners, my name is Jez.
My name is Arawinak.
And I'm Katya.
We will be hosting the program. Today's topic is the richness of the opportunity given even in memories, which can be a field that allows us to transcend fear, mistrust, and many others. With the assistance of the Law of Purification, the Law of Karma utilizes each situation as an instrument, including the thoughts of the past.
We would like to remind you that we use materials based on talks with Daniel Gagliardo given in the Uksim group. Let's start with the first question for today's topic.
Is the energy of the psychic level of the planet becoming increasingly intrusive and having a great impact on us? Should we be concerned about this phenomenon? I have started noticing strange thoughts that are completely unrelated to my daily life.
Digamos que nunca se interrumpió, pero es interesante la pregunta. ¿Por qué? Porque hay aspectos del recrudecimiento de la capa psíquica que, según el estado de conciencia de las personas, le pega diferente. O sea, que la capa psíquica está en continuo crecimiento en cuanto a su congestión y recrudecimiento.
Let's assume it was never interrupted, but it is an interesting question. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to be more affected by strange thoughts that have no connection to their daily lives? This could be due to their psychic layer, a complex and ever-growing aspect of our consciousness. The psychic layer is not a one-size-fits-all phenomenon, but rather a unique experience for each individual, influenced by their level of consciousness. On the contrary, there are aspects of the psychic layer recrudescent that impact certain types of people more than others. Even when we say certain types of people, we are talking about the type of lineage, the ray of the person, the state that they are in temporarily, and the trials that they are going through.
El tema es que a veces la ley de karma, muy inteligentemente nuestra conciencia interna, ante ciertos procesos dinámicos de la capa psíquica, coloca ante nosotros determinadas pruebas que encuentran.
The impact is continuous. The point is that sometimes the law of karma and our inner consciousness, in their wisdom, place before us certain tests that are perfectly tailored to our current state and the growing state of the psychic layer. These tests can take various forms: challenging situations at work, unexpected conflicts in relationships, or even sudden health issues. Our inner consciousness places them and activates them precisely at the moments when the crest of the wave of the psychic layer manifests itself most intensely.
In the ordinary course of the day, you are on a task or in certain situations, and thoughts come totally out of place from the past, from far away in the background.
Es que los pensamientos del pasado, quiere decir, retrotraerse a situaciones pasadas, pueden ser ofrecidos internamente también para que, cuando nos toman así de improviso, cuando vienen a brindarnos su impacto, nosotros aprendamos a estar ante eso. Quiere decir,
one intriguing aspect of the psychic layer is its ability to bring past thoughts to the forefront of our minds, even in the midst of our present task or situations. These thoughts, often related to past experiences, can be internal offerings from the psychic layer. When they unexpectedly surface, they provide us with an opportunity to learn to be present with them and to acknowledge their impact on our current state of consciousness. That is to say, a thought that brings up past issues in the present is not uncommon. But the test is that I treat it, let it traumatize me, or treat it in a way that allows the energy of the transmutation to do its work. So the problem is not that thought of any origin, of any tone can appear. The issue is what to do with it. At this time, part of the karmic training of beings is to take them by surprise with various issues. And if a being believes that some things are buried in the past and that there is nothing left, it could be that the law of karma takes it out of the subconscious, dusts it off, and puts it here in the conscious, now, today, and says, well, did you see? I am resurrected.
no es ni lindo ni feo, es correcto el entrenamiento. Porque no tenemos que catalogarlo, es lindo, es feo, me gustó, no me gustó. No, no me importa si es lindo o si es feo, solo que tengo que estar atento para entender.
If thoughts of a dead man appear to you, the thing that you have to learn is to stand in front of that dead man and see what happens. It's neither pretty nor ugly. It's the right training. Because we don't have to categorize it as cute or ugly. I like it. I wouldn't say I like it. I don't care if it's pretty or ugly. What I have to do is to be attentive to understand that what life places are perfect in the moment, in time and space, and in condition. So that's the proof.
Uno puede interferir gran parte del beneficio de que salga el conejo de la galera y uno no lo esperaba.
Because if life said, sit down, get ready, you can't interfere with a lot of the benefit of the rabbit coming out of the hatch and you didn't expect it. And you have to learn not to kill the rabbit when it comes out of the hatch. You know what I mean? You have to give it the right treatment, and that's it. Is this the training part of purification of the mental field?
Pero toda situación es purificatoria, esta situación es purificatoria, porque hay seres que en este momento, participando de la reunión, no hablo de visitantes o de residentes, de todos nosotros.
Let's go back a bit. How many times did we say every situation is purification? What is it that varies? How the law of purification operates? But every situation is purification. This situation is purification because there are beings that at this moment are participating in the gathering. I'm not talking about visitors or residents, all of us. I'm talking about all of us. As long as we are open, the energy of the gathering can cooperate to remove unusable things from us. The law of purification removes the unusable from consciousness, an individual's consciousness, and a planet's consciousness. So if there are situations that cooperate to remove the unusable and situations that don't, then the ones that don't are unusable. Why? Under the law of karma, every situation is purifying. That is to say, it is a cleansing tool for consciousness. We have to be flexible enough not to have a preference, a preconception, or a prejudice about how the law of purification has to work with us. There are people who, even if they don't think about it fully consciously, hope they don't get hit with a very strong stick at the time of purification. They are possibly the ones who are going to get very strong sticks because purification doesn't act the way we want it to. It acts the way the energy thinks we deserve to receive the purifying action. It is our attitude, then, that makes the difference in predisposing the field of our consciousness for such a valuable experience under the law of karma, as is the removal of the unusable.
So can we say then that the key is to remain neutral and not to get attached? Getting attached in later stage can hinder process, but maintaining neutrality is the appropriate approach to passing the test.
Sí, estar neutral, vamos a aclarar para todos, porque hay personas que pueden tener un concepto difuso de eso, ¿no? Estar neutral sería estar en una posición donde la influencia de nuestra conciencia interna fuera puntual y suficientemente puntual.
If being neutral, let's clarify for everyone, because there are people who may have the somewhat clouded concept of that. To be neutral would be to be in a position where the influence of our inner consciousness is punctual and sufficiently punctual. Neutrality means precisely that the being is in a more impersonal, more impartial context. The true neutral energy in our consciousness that expresses lives and sustains our inner being is the energy of neutrality. Genuine impartiality, genuine neutrality is the condition of our inner life. So when the ego says that it is in a sufficiently neutral condition, it is saying that it was able, through empathy, through inner attunement, to implant part of that inner quality in its psychophysical functioning. If a being has sufficiently implanted and accepted that inner influence, it will somehow be able to rehearse the neutral, impartial, impersonal treatment of situations.
Que está en condiciones suficientemente neutrales, está diciendo que pudo, por empatía, ¿sí?, por sintonía interna, implantar parte de esa cualidad interior en su funcionamiento psicofísico. Entonces, si un ser tiene...
So if a being is given the opportunity to experience the memory of something in particular, meaning his mind experiences the activation of something that happened in the past, his mind and his emotional center because it automatically comes to the memory. The emotional body and the mental body start screaming. The mental body cries out because the emotional body cries out, and always up to now in this humanity, the complicity, as we have said so many times, is notorious. When the emotional body starts to cry out, the mental body cannot rise. What happens? Don't you see that the wolf is coming?
En el pensamiento viene el lobo y en el sentimiento pánico, porque es así. Entonces, hay seres que no entienden la riqueza de esto que empezó con la pregunta de la hermana.
So in thought comes the wolf, and in feeling panic, because that's how it is. There are beings who don't understand the richness of what began with the sister's question. The richness of being invaded by something from the past, temporarily, for a little while, and that the being understands that he has the opportunity, possibly, to do with that memory what he was not able to do in the past with what was happening. So the majority, when that which was traumatic, because they are generally traumatic things, because no one complains about the wonderful memories, but what was generally traumatic, unpleasant, disharmonious, and unbalanced.
¿Sí? Sino generalmente lo que fue traumático, desagradable, desarmónico, desequilibrado. Entonces, cuando el ser ante eso que aparece, ¿sí?, que parecía enterrado, ¿sí?, responde con miedo, con angustia, con desequilibrio.
So when the being faced with that which appears, which seemed buried, responds with fear, with anguish, imbalance, taking advantage of an opportunity, because very possibly his inner being who is enabling that experience of the ejection of the subconsciousness into the consciousness, his inner being and the law of karma can arrive with a certain periodicity to place him in the same situation. If the being does not have flexibility, he will believe that it is actually a curse that cannot be transcended, and that his mind is prey to that kind of memory. He has a wonderful opportunity, which is to treat it differently from the original instance, which then gives way to the memory and what he wasted every time that memory came back. At some point, you have to stand firmly with true vocation, sufficient intention of transformation in front of that memory and give it a treatment in order to compensate for something that karmically you could not do in the original. Do it in the copy, and that's it. That is great karmic proceeding.
Entonces es muy bueno entender eso. Tenemos esa oportunidad. Tenemos la oportunidad. E incluso un recuerdo puede ser un campo que nos permita, volviendo a la ley de purificación, limpiar cosas inservibles en nosotros, como el miedo, la desconfianza, ¿sí? Y un montón de cosas más, y nos predisponga de aquí en adelante a estar más livianos en la mochila.
Neutrality is one component that prevents the original treatment from being repeated. There, you are working in the opposite direction from the error. It is very good to understand that we have that opportunity. We have the opportunity, and even memory can be a field that allows us, going back to the law of purification, to transcend things in us like fear, mistrust, and a lot of other things that do not serve us. The experience may make us more inclined to carry a lighter backpack from now on.
Last week I was sleeping and suddenly I heard some knocking and an image appeared, and then a traumatic situation that I had at about when I was 3 years old, and I recognized it. But the truth is, there was no feeling about anything. It was an image, and that impersonality didn't come from me either, from the personality. I was surprised because maybe I suspected something had happened, but it was unheard of. And I bring it up because you have to give it the proper treatment. For me, it was. I took it personally, turned it over, and returned to sleep. What would be the right treatment to give?
Por ejemplo ese, darse vuelta y seguir durmiendo. Porque, a ver, los tratamientos se definen como adecuados o inadecuados por una cuestión de actitud, no de acting, porque muchas personas hacen acting y hacen un desastre con la vida.
For example, that one, to turn over, to continue sleeping, because treatments are defined as adequate or inadequate by a question of attitude, not acting, because many people do acting and make a mess of life. In other words, their acting looks like Joan of Arc, but what they are doing is a disaster. So turning over and going to sleep, if what had to be experienced was an attitude, that's enough, that's it.
Pero hay una parte de la conciencia que a veces de un modo muy interesante nos está declarando, ¿sí? Nos estamos declarando a nosotros mismos como egos y personalidades, nos estamos declarando que, bien, lo que pasó, pasó, pero todo es transitorio.
Sometimes life knows when to bring something into the present and test us in a particular way. In this case, it seems to have been optimal because there was nothing traumatic. It could have been different too. You couldn't sleep anymore. You were anguished, wondering. In the end, it was like this. I had suspicions. Well done. You said you talked about it with this psychologist in the analysis. Well, there it is. The suspicion seems to be defined by what happened.
nos estamos declarando a nosotros mismos como egos y personalidades, nos estamos declarando que, bien, lo que pasó, pasó, pero todo es transitorio. Aquel chiquito de 3 años ya fue. No soy ese chiquito, y lo que ocurrió con quien fuera.
However, there is a part of consciousness that sometimes, in a very interesting way, declares to us, as egos and personalities, that everything is transitory. The little boy, 3 years of age, is gone. I'm not the little boy today. And what happened with whoever it was also transitory, because the karmic executor is not the same either.
In other words, everything is constantly changing. In a relationship that can be shocking at times when one takes on the role of aggressor and the other the aggressed, we must never leave aside, we must never ignore the transitory nature of all the components of the situation, of the protagonists.
Entonces todo es transitorio, bien, aunque no pueda definir, o sí, vaya a saber, cómo es hoy aquel que fue coprotagonista de ese teleteatro.
So everything is transitory. Well, I can't define, or even if I can't define, or I don't know what the one who co-starred in that TV drama is like today, if I can define in some way that I am not the same, then I can close the chapter, because if I don't understand that I can always have illusory callosity, then I am still the same. Then the wound remains open because it will never close. And the wounds don't close because we don't want to close them.
Porque hay personas que quieren encontrar justificativos para vivir de un modo, reaccionar de un modo en particular y tomárselas con todo de un modo en particular.
There are people who want to find justifications for living, reacting, and dealing with everything in a particular way because they do not want to close the wound, because the wound serves them as an argument. It feeds them in psychic terms, brutal psychic terms, so that they continue to exercise something that, in reality, they had to transcend, they had to cleanse.
When you do something unnecessary, what comes afterwards? Whatever it is already interfering, isn't it?
Lo que surge después está relacionado a otro aspecto de la realidad, de la síntesis. Si uno hace lo innecesario o da un tratamiento a algo necesario pero de un modo incorrecto, lo que va a ocurrir después...
No, what arises afterwards is related to another aspect of reality or synthesis. If one does the unnecessary or treats something necessary, but in an incorrect way, what will happen afterwards is that the energy will again put us in front of an opportunity where the added negative value of the unnecessary or the incorrect will be added, plus the opportunity to treat a renewed situation that will have the karmic charge of the previous situation that was badly resolved. In other words, there is nothing that is not worth living that is not the result of what we generate. The important thing is that when we face every situation that life offers us, we go for the recognition of the need, trying to get rid of the atavistic charge. Those situations should be as we would like them to be. We have to give immense value to what the situations are, even if we go through periods or even entire incarnations without the situations being as our personality would like them to be. So what does a being of value do with the situation?
Entonces, ¿qué tiene que ver un ser de valioso en una situación? Que es la verdad revelándose, ofreciéndonos aceptarla como ella busca revelarse, que entendamos en esa verdad la necesidad y le demos el tratamiento que toda verdad.
It is truth revealing itself, offering us to accept it as it seeks to reveal itself. We understand the need for that truth and give it the treatment that all truth requires. It is a high and proper treatment. When a situation arises, it reveals the truth, which has multiple phases and ways to reveal itself. Then we have to stop being and having that immaturity, which is primarily our responsibility, that immaturity of being moved or assaulted by the situation. The most common thing in surface humanity is that every situation is abused, not that situations abuse the being.
Mientras sigamos poniendo el acento en que somos lo importante en las situaciones, lo importante en una situación es entender que no es casual, que existe toda una inteligencia cósmica con sus leyes, poniéndonos a nosotros con todas nuestras imperfecciones.
But until the being matures and understands that what is essential is not him, but the situation that represents the cosmic will, synthesized, adjusted, as if it were a shoe made to measure for what we are, we can, through the appropriate treatment, move toward the transformation and transcendence of what we are. As long as we continue to emphasize that we are the vital thing in situations, the vital thing in a situation is to understand that it is not by chance that there is a whole cosmic intelligence with its laws, placing us with all our imperfections, that which among all the infinite millions of options at that moment is the only thing we have to attend to and to live. Being so important, we mistreat it and then cry, victimizing ourselves that life mistreats us. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for being with us.